Back in the late 2000s, the Wii reigned as the undisputed champion of the console wars, and companies were taking notice. Motion controls were such a novelty that it seemed anyone could make a mediocre game that used them and sell millions of copies. Nerf had a Wii game that came with this Nerf gun. M&M's had some Wii games, but to be fair, M&M's had a lot of games for some reason. Chuck E. Cheese had 3 Wii games, and even Home Depot had a video game. Home Depot had a bigger presence on the Wii than Star Fox did. In a metropolitan downtown, watching all of this from somewhere, was some guy who worked for Crayola. Crayola could not allow itself to be outdone by Home Depot. Home Depot was founded in 1978. Crayola had been around since 1885. It had witnessed the rise and fall of nations. We too shall have a Wii game, our protagonist declared, and he knew exactly the team up for the task. Fun Crank Games, LLC, and it just goes to show how good at research Mr. Crayola is to be able to find this company, as while I was researching Fun Crank Games, I found absolutely nothing and gave up. This is why they've been on the top since before North Dakota was a state. Our protagonist now began to brainstorm. It would be published by Crave, whose logo would glisten on the box art as an emblem of quality. Yes, this is good. Quick, we must inform the press. Someone call up contributor from gamesindustry.biz. David Birchie, Senior VP of Content and Strategic Development at Crave Entertainment, can represent us. He will tell them how the game offers an intriguing challenge for kids of all ages. With no right way to solve each puzzle, players will have to use their imaginations. No two solutions will be exactly the same, offering endless replayability and opportunities to try out different ideas. And now, years later, it's my turn to pick up this piece of art from atop its easel and answer the following question for you. Did they succeed? Did they make a product worthy of the Crayola brand, or was this a product more fitting for the rose art consumer? Yeah, it's a bad game, but you already knew that from the title of this video and probably could have assumed that even without the title. But we're going to look at it anyway to see why it's a bad game and if there's any good ideas still buried in here. Right away, you can tell the kind of effort put into this game by the startup sound on the Wii menu. Just one percussion note that is easily missed. At last, I found the antithesis to Brawl's startup screen. If you'll remember what David Birchie, Senior VP of Content and Strategic Development at Crave Entertainment, said about this game being imaginative, you can also see that demonstrated here upon booting up the game. That is a very imaginative way of spelling Philip. The plot of this game is that someone is stealing the colors of the world, turning things into black and white and removing joy from the world. You must go investigate what's going on and restore the colors to this land. The goal of this game is to escort Philip across the map by drawing blocks and interacting with that world. Philip will walk in one direction unless he hits a wall, in which case he'll turn around. On easy mode, he'll stop when he sees a giant gaping hole of death, but on intermediate and hard mode, he'll just jump right into that. This is where you come in. You use your Wii remote pointer to draw shapes with your handy-dandy Crayolas. Philip can then walk on and collide with these objects, which you'll use to navigate him through the levels. That is the only gameplay loop in this game, and it's what you'll be doing the whole time. Different crayons have different properties. Red drawings will stay in the air exactly where you put them, while blue ones will fall down. Green, I believe they said floats. I can't really remember, and I don't think they explained the yellow ones at all. Here's the thing though, you only really have to use red. It can hover over water and you can draw it wherever you want to, so there's no need to use gravity to pull it down. So basically what I'm saying is I only ever use the red crayon. You can also use the B button to delete anything you've drawn in the world. You have a fixed amount of crayon energy which you can recover by picking up these weird boxes. Every time you use color, this meter decreases, and when you run out you can't draw anything anymore. Drawing bridges to get across levels sounds like it'd be fun, and I know some games have done stuff like this before successfully, but the problem here is that it's completely up to chance whether Philip will sometimes be able to walk on my object. Sometimes he can scale a 90-degree angle, and other times a crooked line will send him tumbling backwards. If the physics worked and the level design had more going on than get Philip over the big hole, this mechanic could have worked. On paper it's not a bad idea, it's just executed in the most boring way possible here. The secondary mechanic is coloring in black and white background elements, which will allow you to unlock coloring pages. This is easier said than done though, as Philip is constantly on the move and it takes a while to color everything in. The best way to keep Philip from joining Brendan Fraser in the Earth's core is to just draw 2 walls on both sides of him. He'll constantly walk into the walls back and forth until you erase one. Even with this though, I had an extremely frustrating time getting past level 1 as I was going for 100% completion, which means coloring in every background object. And though he moves slightly slower than a deceased snail, when you have to color in 30 things in the background, it feels like he's moving at the speed of light. You only get a few lives, and if you lose them all, you have to restart the entire level over again. I kept dying over and over again until I finally found my rhythm and I got 75% of the way through level 1. This doesn't sound like I got very far, but these levels are long. There are only 4 levels in the entire game, and I just don't know why they didn't break these up into much smaller stages. This game is for a very young audience, and I don't think they're going to have the patience to sit and grind through these 20-minute levels. So there I am after 2 hours of trying to beat level 1, and I step into this boat and color a cloud to make the wind propel me into the lake. Then I come up on a second cloud in the middle of the lake to repower my sail, and I was soft locked. I ran out of paint, and as a result I had to redo the entire level over. At this point I'd been playing for hours with nothing to show, so I went in to start a new game with an easy difficulty instead of intermediate, which is what I was on. I beat it easily thanks to Philip now evolving to have a self-preservation instinct, but easy mode was completely devoid of any challenge. Then I thought to myself, I'm currently playing through all NES games in order of release on the NES Classic for this channel. Donkey Kong Jr. is up next, but after that I have to play Ghosts and Goblins. How am I going to beat Ghosts and Goblins if I'm throwing in the towel on a Crayola game for 2-year-olds? So I went back on medium difficulty and finally made it through level 1 after many tries. Then I beat the rest of the game no problem. For some reason, level 1 is 10 times harder than all the other levels combined. This pacing is literally backwards. There's not much to talk about with the other levels, as what you're doing is pretty much the same as you were doing in level 1. Some later levels do allow you to interact with the background objects more to find hidden passages with more collectibles, which is nice, but besides that it's the same things that I've already discussed. And then after level 4 I got another story sequence about how I convinced the guy stealing the color from the world to knock it off by giving him a box of Crayolas, and roll credits. I was surprised how short this game is, but I was definitely relieved. The last thing I had to check out was the coloring book mode that you unlock pages for by finding things in the levels, but the drawing mechanic isn't very good, especially when you compare it to the amazing photo channel editor that the Wii came prepackaged with. And that's it for this game. Not only did they miss the chance to make a good game, they also missed the chance to make the manual of this game into a coloring book. Come on, that seems like a no-brainer. Aren't you trying to sell crayons? And to make things all worse, this manual isn't even in color at all. I was going to talk about how nowadays it's unnecessary for companies to make console games to get brand awareness out there, as it's much easier to make apps for phones, which I checked, and yes, Crayola has several. But believe it or not, Crayola has a game on modern consoles too. It's called Crayola Scoot, and it was developed by Climax Studios, who made Silent Hill Origins, Silent Hill Shattered Memories, and assisted development on Returnal for PS5. Huh. Also, once again, Crayola has more games on a Nintendo platform than Star Fox does. But in conclusion, though the core mechanics are somewhat interesting on paper, due to the awful boring level design, this is not a hidden gem. It's just a dull rock. But you can't find gems without breaking open a bunch of rocks. So I'll keep looking at these weird Wii games in hopes of finding something special. And I want you to have my sincere thanks for watching Hydrated Gaming. And I'll see you next time.